I'm Travis Bushaw, your 2025 Iowa Realtor State President. I'm here with Les Sulgrove, our statewide housing analyst, otherwise known as our stats guy. And we're going to talk a little bit about where we're at right now in our housing market and what this kind of April looks like compared to maybe last April.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again.
Absolutely, excited.
And I have a gift because if we're going to talk about stats, you
I need to be statty.
You got to be statty.
All right, here we go.
If you do well, we'll go ahead and put the tape on there so it'll be a stat.
All right, let me see what I can do here. I've been enjoying our new statewide stats program that's built into the website. So I can say that I have become a wee bit nerdier since this was introduced. So I'm working on it, Les. So help us out here though. Where are we at? What's going on? Obviously the media is loud about this. Social media is even louder about this.
Yeah.
But I think Iowa's looking pretty good. And so talk to us about that.
It is overall. The biggest news we have right now is that home inventory levels are growing. This is something we haven't seen in several years, especially after COVID, right after COVID. We're seeing inventory levels start to rise. And in fact, last month, we brought 500 new listings in across the state, and that's much, much needed. I think, we're really short on listings still.
Absolutely. So
we're growing.
When you talk about that active inventory level, are we nearing pre-pandemic levels or are we still significantly lower? I know when we talked a couple months ago, we were still a lot of units short, but it seems like we've been creeping up. If we're getting 500 additional listings, we're maybe approaching that level?
We are approaching, depending on the different markets. I know Des Moines, for example, is right at the edge of being post-pandemic. I think statewide, it's going to take a little longer to kind of get there, but we're at almost 8,000 listings.
Right.
And I think it's only going to take 400 or 500 more at the most to get us above that.
When we talk about that number of listings, it's also interesting to look at days on market. What is our days on market doing? And is the increase in inventory just a result of our property sitting longer? And doesn't sound like that's maybe the case, especially if we compare it to previous months.
No, the worst thing that could happen is if we saw an inventory increase and our days on market increase would mean that we're just getting inventory and it's sitting there.
Yeah.
We're actually, our median days on market across the state is only 10 days. And which, you look at the percentage, well, it's 11% more than whatever a year ago. Yeah, but it's only 10 days.
Yeah, when I say 11% increase on days on the market year over year means we went from a median of 9 to a median of 10.
Right.
Yeah.
And so across the state, that doesn't mean that everybody in the state is also at 10.
Right.
There are some markets that are at 15, like Northwest Iowa up there, more rural is probably part of that key. West Central Iowa, again, a rural market. They're both at about 15 days on market.
Which is still exceptionally good compared to historic days on market for properties in Iowa.
Absolutely. And then you get into not quite the metros, but the suburban communities like, Southwest Iowa, like Council Bluffs or East Central over by Dubuque, those markets are 5 days on market.
Right.
So, and their inventory levels are increasing too. And it doesn't look like they're increasing as much, but it's because they come on and they go right off again. So
and the question has been over the course of the last couple of years. We saw accelerated appreciation. You and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
We thought maybe we would not necessarily see any type of depreciation, but we would see maybe just a stable flat line on that. Is that what we're seeing in Iowa, is that prices have kind of stopped in appreciating, or are we still seeing some growth in price?
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of growth, not the skyrocketing growth we saw, especially during COVID.
Probably good. We don't want that.
Double digit increase in values was an anomaly with COVID. We're seeing around 4% maybe year over year, and in some markets like last month we were almost flat. I think we're at 238.9 is our median sale price, and it was like 238 last month.
Yeah.
So what that does is it tells home sellers that we're not seeing that market increases.
Right.
We're seeing lots of price reductions.
Yeah.
Also
Absolutely.
Yep. And it also tells home buyers out there that, hey, as we see mortgage interest rates kind of level off and they're not going up or down, and also not seeing home values going up, it says, hey, I'm confident now maybe going out and buying something. So I think that's what's also drawing a lot of buyers.
And again, at a median price of $238.9, our state is still exceptionally more affordable than almost any other state.
Absolutely.
So when we look at that we have inventory that interest rates have leveled off a little bit. We're not seeing the fluctuations, and I think buyers have come to accept a little bit more that it is what it is with rates.
Yeah.
What are we seeing outside of just this first quarter of Iowa? Are we assuming that there's going to be a continuation of this? What are economists saying as far as what happens next? Because I know I was talking to somebody this morning that's like, yeah, like it has to be a slowdown now, right? Like we have to see fewer listings. We have to see fewer sales. We're going to see an increase in days on market. I'm like, but I'm not necessarily hearing that. What are you hearing?
I'm not hearing that either. The national news tends to drive the local news, and the local news tends to drive, the media. And the states like California, Arizona, Texas, and Florida, yes, they are having a slowdown. Mm-hmm. But if you recall, when COVID, the prices went up during COVID, yes, our prices went up, but they didn't go up 30-40%, so we're a little more conservative in our actions and our economy. So I think that's
what we've talked about. That's the benefit of our Iowa real estate economy. Rewind even further, outside of the pandemic, go back to the housing crisis of through 8, 9, 10, we didn't ride a roller coaster, right? Ours were slower little hills. And so the benefit of being in Iowa is you don't see those fluctuations that not only are detrimental to our sellers, but negatively affect buyers. It gives us a better opportunity to introduce more into home ownership.
Yeah.
What do you think, though, is going to be the biggest key to continuing the success that we've seen in Iowa over the course of the first quarter? Is it rates stabilizing, or is it home prices not increasing as quickly?
I think it's rate stabilizing, probably, because if you look over time, but even 2 years ago, all anybody could talk about was 3%
Absolutely.
Rates, mortgage rates of 3%. Today, they hear 5-6%. And if you look over the long term, over the last, since 1971, the median rate is about 7%.
Yeah.
So we're right where we need to be. Where we should be. Yeah.
Yep. And again, the conversation we always have is that, yes, 7% is historically where we were. We also have seen that 20 to 30% appreciation in the last 5 years. And so those combined sting a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, I think that people have realized that my best opportunity to buy is now, given where we're at with inventory.
Honestly, the best time to buy is when you need to buy a house.
That's fair.
Absolutely. When you have to buy, because people buy, sell, they get divorced, they get married, they have children, they get transfers, whatever. So jump in. Real estate is a get rich slowly scheme. Get in there, build that equity all the time.
And we're still seeing appreciation. I mean, when we look year over year at 4%, that is still great growth of investment into something that you need anyway. So,
absolutely.
Perfect. Les, really appreciate it. This is great. Again, we'll be back soon. But on top of that, watch our Iowa Realtors website. You do a blog. Keep us up to date. We've got press releases. We've got our interactive statewide stats program. But great opportunity to see what's going on from a numbers perspective and to have you analyze it for us. So we really appreciate it, Les. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.